Let me ask you a brutal question. Who is currently holding the remote control to your emotions? Is it your boss, your spouse, or that one relative who always knows exactly what to say to ruin your mood? Think about it. How many of us spend 24 hours of our day carrying the heavy weight of a 5-minute conversation? We replay their words in our heads, practice fake arguments in the shower, and let someone who isn't even thinking about us hijack our peace. When we react this way, we are essentially handing our power over to someone else. But I've learned that the secret to lasting peace isn't just about willpower, it's about perspective. The reality is, you cannot expect fruit of the Spirit from people who are not connected to the vine. We get frustrated because we expect unhealed people to act healthy. But what if that difficult person is not an obstacle to your peace, but a tool in God's hands? What if they are a mirror, exposing the exact places in your heart where God is quietly inviting you to surrender and heal? Today, we are reclaiming your peace through the renewal of your mind. I want to show you 3 biblical shifts that will anchor your soul so deeply in God that the chaos around you no longer has the power to define the peace within you. Let's dive in. 1. Stop giving people a job they never applied for. Here's something that will change the way you move through every room for the rest of your life. Most of the time, you're not upset because of what someone did. You're upset because of what you expected them to do and they didn't. Think about that. Your coworker didn't ruin your day. Your expectation that they would be fair, grateful, or competent, and the gap between that expectation and reality, that's what ruined your day. Your spouse didn't destroy your evening. Your unspoken assumption that they would notice you were struggling without you saying a word and then respond perfectly, that's what destroyed it. We do this constantly. We hand people emotional job descriptions they never agreed to. We assign them the role of validator, comforter, motivator, or mind reader. And when they fail to perform a job they didn't know they had, we punish them with our frustration and ourselves with our bitterness. Proverbs 13:12 says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick." And most of us are walking around heartsick not because life is cruel, but because we placed our hope in people's behavior instead of in God's character. Most people think they're hurt by people, but more often they're hurt by the version of people they created in their mind. Here's your practical step. Next time you feel that heat rising in your chest, that familiar flash of irritation, pause. Don't react yet. Ask yourself one question. What was I expecting from this person that they never promised me? 9 times out of 10, you'll realize you're not reacting to the moment. At work, this looks like releasing your need for your boss to acknowledge every effort. It doesn't mean you stop working with excellence. It means you stop tying your peace to their applause. At home, this looks like telling your spouse what you need instead of testing whether they can guess it. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And here's what makes this a faith issue, not just a self-help trick. When you stop assigning God's job to human beings, you make room for God to actually do it. No one can disappoint you in a role you never gave them. 2, protect your inner world like it's sacred because it is. Let me paint a picture you'll recognize. Someone says something careless, maybe dismissive, maybe rude. And within 3 seconds, you've already constructed an entire courtroom in your mind. You're the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury. You're replaying their words, drafting your rebuttal, imagining what you should have said, and rehearsing what you'll say next time. Meanwhile, the person who offended you, they're eating lunch. They've forgotten it happened. They're fine. You're the only one serving the sentence. This is what most people miss about emotional control. It's not about suppressing what you feel. It's about refusing to let someone else's dysfunction set up camp in your mind. There is a difference between feeling something and furnishing a room for it. Jesus said something in Matthew 15:11 that most people only apply to food. It is not what enters the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth, this defiles a person. But the principle runs deeper than diet. What defiles your peace isn't what someone throws at you. It's what you take in, chew on, and let become part of your inner dialogue. The attack doesn't happen outside you. It happens the moment you agree with it internally. You are not responsible for every thought that knocks on the door, but you are responsible for which ones you invite to dinner. So here's a concrete practice. Call it the 5-minute boundary. When someone offends you, give yourself 5 minutes to feel it. Feel the anger. Feel the sting. Don't pretend it doesn't hurt. God gave you emotions for a reason, and stuffing them is not the same as managing them. But after 5 minutes, make a conscious decision. Am I going to keep building this courtroom, or am I going to hand this case to a higher court? In everyday annoyances, the slow driver, the passive-aggressive email, the neighbor who never waves you, notice your mind replaying it again and again. And in that moment, you pause and remind yourself, even out loud if needed, this isn't worth the space it's trying to take in my mind. In family conflict, this is harder, because family knows your codes. They have old keys to old doors. But even there, you have the authority to change the locks. You can love someone and still refuse to let their words rearrange your interior. Philippians 4-7 doesn't say the peace of God removes all conflict. It says it will guard your heart and mind. That word guard is a military term. It implies there's something trying to get in. Peace isn't the absence of attack. It's the presence of a guard who's stronger than the threat. But here's the part most people skip. That guard only works when you stop opening the gate yourself. Your mind is holy ground. Stop letting people who don't respect it walk through it with muddy shoes. 3. Respond from who you're becoming, not from who hurt you. This is where everything shifts. Most people react from their wounds. Someone raises their voice, and suddenly you're not a 35-year-old professional, you're a child again. Trying to be enough for a parent who never said you were. Someone ignores you, and you're not a confident adult. You're the kid who got picked last and decided they must not matter. We think we're reacting to the present, but most of the time, we're reacting to the past, wearing the present's clothes. If you don't heal what hurt you, you'll keep taking it out on people who did nothing wrong. And here's the hard truth. As long as old pain is driving your reactions, the people closest to you will pay the price for someone else's mistakes. Your spouse will carry the weight of your father's coldness. Your coworker will bear the fear a 7th grade bully planted in you. Your friend will pay for a betrayal someone else committed 5 years ago. That's not fair to them. And honestly, it's not fair to you either. When Jesus stood before Pilate, mocked, accused, spit on, he didn't react from his wounds. He responded from his identity. He knew who he was. He knew whose he was. And that knowing gave him a kind of steadiness that confused everyone in the room. They expected him to fight back. They expected rage, or at least defense. Instead, he gave them silence, composure, and purpose. You're not Jesus. I'm not asking you to be sinless under pressure, but I am asking you to consider something. What if your next reaction wasn't shaped by what was done to you, but by who God is forming you into? This is the mindset shift that changes everything. It's the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is automatic, driven by pain, driven by ego, driven by old scripts. Responding is intentional, driven by identity, driven by awareness, driven by the quiet voice that says, you don't have to do this the old way anymore. At work, this looks like choosing not to match someone's passive aggression with your own. Not because you're weak, but because you've decided that the version of you God is building doesn't operate that way. It looks like saying in a meeting, I hear what you're saying. Let me think about it and get back to you. In your marriage, this looks like pausing in the middle of an argument and asking yourself, am I fighting to be right, or am I fighting for this relationship? Those are two very different wars, and only one of them is worth winning. In daily irritation, this looks like catching yourself before you snap at the barista, before you write the sarcastic reply, before you slam the door, and choosing a response that reflects the person you're becoming, not the pain you're carrying. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. But let's be honest, the old doesn't leave quietly. It fights for space. It whispers old scripts. It shows up uninvited in moments of stress. Becoming new is not a one-time event. It's a daily, sometimes hourly, act of choosing who you want to be over who you used to be. Growth is a process. Transformation doesn't mean you'll never feel annoyed again. It means annoyance doesn't get to drive anymore. You feel it, you acknowledge it, and you let the deeper part of you, the part anchored in Christ, take the wheel. You will never control what people do to you, but you can become someone who is no longer controlled by it. You are not failing because someone still gets under your skin. You are human, and God doesn't ask you to become a robot. He asks you to become free. Freedom is not the absence of emotion. It's the presence of choice. It's waking up and deciding, today, I will not be held hostage by other people's behavior. Today, I will not hand my peace to someone who doesn't know what to do with it. Today, I will respond from the person I'm becoming, not from the wounds I'm still healing from. And if you fall short, and you will, grace is not a one-time gift. It's a daily supply. Get back up, adjust, try again. That's not failure, that's faithfulness. Here's your declaration for this week. Say it out loud if you need to. I am not at the mercy of anyone's words, moods, or behavior. My peace comes from God, and no one has the authority to take what He has given me. I choose to respond with wisdom, to guard my mind with intention, and to grow through every difficulty instead of being destroyed by it. You can live differently. Not perfectly, but differently. If this spoke to something real in your life, share it with someone who's carrying the same weight. Subscribe if you want more content like this, rooted in faith, grounded in honesty, and built for people who are done performing peace and ready to actually walk in it. I'll see you in the next one.